Oh, hello to everyone, whether you're listening to us in morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome to all of you. It's a pleasure to have with us today Miss Claudia Romo Edelman. She's going to speak to us about, like always, I like to bring in a different perspective on some of the issues that organizations are dealing with, and from a consumer perspective, the globe, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really a pleasure. I've been following some of Claudia's work and as she travels around the world and talks about all of these things. So, Claudia, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Claudia, your bio is way lengthier than what we would have time for, but give some highlights as to who is Claudia and why do we want to know more about her?
Well, I think that I have an organization that is very much aligned with the podcast that you have on human intelligence and dialogue. So I am a Mexican, Swiss American diplomat. I spent the first 30 years of my career either representing Mexico abroad or working for global institutions as a global mobilization expert, doing campaigns and elevating, if you want, issues that needed the hearts and minds of millions of people around the world. I moved to the U.S. 10 years ago after having worked for organizations like the United Nations, UNICEF, the World Economic Forum, and I that was the first time that I heard that I was a Hispanic. I was like, what is that? I'm happy Mexican, and I'm not sure who is referring to this group and who is this group. And the more I started doing research, the more I understood that Latinos are super incredible, positive contributors to the US, but no one seems to know it. So I created an organization called the World Human Foundation, trying to elevate the sense of humanity that basically unifies us all, that reminding people that we belong to the same human family, that muscle that seems to be in scarcity today. I'm very focused on the Latino community to elevate Latinos and to make sure that there's humans at the center. So great to be here with you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So, based on that journey and your mission and so forth, what are some of the trends that you're now discovering after having been 10 years in the US? Because I follow your stuff. What are some of the human capital trends you're seeing, and what are the organizational dynamics and implications?
Well, I mean, like this is really a crucial time. I think that when I came to the US, I started seeing how, people were talking a lot about the need to get into human, like into the human capital, particularly as talent. Like in the US, there's a lot of conversation about adoption and adaption towards artificial intelligence. I feel that there is this moment of growth that exponentially has started this year, where we're seeing artificial intelligence becoming a norm for our lives, and the question is really what is the interaction? Where is the human in this element? Where are companies going to be investing in reskilling and upskilling for the workforce of the future that could be supported and replaced in some instances by technology? I feel that the entire 10 years have been, for me, like going to one end and then to the other. I came into the country by the sustainability channel, if you want, sustainability, climate change, purpose, and that moved to, like one end, diversity, equity, and inclusion moved to another. But really, regardless of where the pendulum goes, what is constant is human, is people. At the end of the day, we are the employees, the consumers, the voters, the communities that move and propel societies that keep people moving. And I think that right now, a big trend that I'm seeing is the need for optimism, the need for people to have things to hope for, and the need for people to bridge and to be in the center. So I think that organizations like mine have an opportunity, given the data that we have, the research and the insights that we have, particularly with Latinos, to start building those communities so that those communities become alliances, and those alliances become businesses, move forward, benefiting the individuals, the companies where they operate, and the entire country.
So valuable piece. Yeah. And it's funny you were saying that we need the human, and that's why my philosophy is one, in the era of AI, we need HI, human intelligence at the end of the day. Now, and to your point, you put out a lot of great data. What are maybe if you can think of top two or three data points that the listeners should hear about when it comes to this Latino population in the US? I mean, as it is, we're the second largest demographic in this. We're the second country in the world with most Latinos are in, only after Mexico. We have more Latinos here than and Canada has Canadians and Spaniards. Spain has Spaniards. So, what are some two or three key data points that you think the audience needs to consider and take away, particularly those that are revamping their organizations for the future?
Well, this is my favorite question of all. And there are five things, not two or three, that I'm going to give you. We're the people, Latinos are the people, 20% of the population, going to 30% of the population. By 2060, one in every three America will be Latino. And this is because this is not only a really big group, but also like a very generous with our love group, that we're like the most common interracial marriage in the country. So we expand and we're happy to do so. So this is a population that is absolutely like filling all those jobs that are intermediary, because we're the people, 20% of the population. We're the economy. You just mentioned it. There's $4.1 trillion that if the Hispanic or Latino community, like what we put out, what we serve, what we produce, equals almost 20% of the GDP of the country. We're 20% of the population, but also almost 20% of the GDP. And that is absolutely crucial. So $4.1 trillion, just to put it into perspective, if we would be a standalone economy, would be the fifth largest economy in the world, larger than the UK, larger than Brazil, larger than Italy, larger than Canada. And that is actually going into the trend of becoming the fourth largest country in the world if we would be a standalone economy, because our economy grows 4.4% a year. That is by far faster than the US, and faster than many other countries. The only country that is growing faster than us is India. So we're the people, we're the economy, we are the purchasing power that is also $4 trillion, $4.1 trillion. So the size of the wallet of Latinos is expanding by the minute, despite COVID, despite all the challenges that you might have. The Latino purchasing power is gigantic, and we have 12 years longer than non-Latinos as consumer lifespan proposition and value. The last 2 points are my favorite, which is the Latino community is very entrepreneurial. I mean, like if you know a Latino, you know that, like we have a little business here and we're one thing, but in another. And so Latinos, one in every five entrepreneurs in these countries are Latino, Latinas. Generate small businesses 18 times faster than any other group in America, making us the job creator number one in the country. And here goes my favorite fifth point. We're the people, we're the economy, we're the purchasing power, we're the entrepreneurs. But my favorite one is we're the youngest of all. Our average age, 28. Latinas, 26 years old. We look young because we are young, but the most important data point that I want to leave with your audience with in human intelligence dialogue, and I want that dialogue here, is the most common age. Can you tell me what do you think is the most common age of 65 million Latinos today? 65, 68 million Latinos today.
I know I read it and I forgot it. So you tell me.
17.
I knew I had read it. Thank you.
17. So 17 is the most common age of 65 million people. Do you know what the most common age of non-Latinos is?
It's not 17. I think it's close to 40.
63.
Look at that.
1763. So if there's one data point that all your audience needs to know, is that this is the youngest cohort, 4 decades of pure growth, secular growth, 20% of the Gen Z, 29% of the Alpha. The younger you look into American population, the more Latinos you will find. And that is why it's so essential to start looking at the future and think wherever you are, whether you're like a company, who am I going to hire in the future? If you're trying to sell, who am I going to sell in the future? If you're a politician, who is going to vote for me in the future? Not only today, but in the next future. So that's why the data paints a picture of a hockey stick form growing community that has to be part of the dialogue and the debate that in the narrative of American growth.
Wow, that's really great information. Thank you so much. So let me ask you this. What solutions are you recommending out there for organizations to consider, not only as a workforce, but also as one that has these consumers in front of them?
100% is all about investing in growth, right? Like I'm not talking to anybody about either charity or diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm not even talking about Latinos. Every time I go somewhere, I'm asking, very, like with a lot of openness and curiosity, tell me about your consumer today. Talk to me about your consumer in the next 3 years, in your next 5 years, and the next 10 years. And what are the actions that you're taking to address that consumer right now or in the future, right? Like that's pretty much where you're going to start looking at investment in growth. So investing in the opportunities that are going to lead you to growth either as consumers or as employees or suppliers. So wherever you look at it, you have to start looking at what is my growth strategy and how are Latinos going to help me to get to that point? Do I know them enough? Do I know their sentiment? Do I know what their pain point is? Am I investing enough? So whatever it is, I would just say, go explore in growth and then start making the investments that you need to get there.
Excellent, excellent. So there, as you know, there's a bunch of other things that are happening out there in the whole future of work. There's the whole AI, remote hybrid, workforce psychology has shifted, particularly since the pandemic and the whole workforce evolution. What are you seeing in that space, particularly with this layer of the Latino growth that we've been talking about?
I absolutely think that there's a crossroad moment where artificial intelligence can be the incredible bridge that Latinos need so dramatically to leapfrog towards senior positions, towards, like the top. As I said, Latinos are already in the intermediate positions everywhere, in politics, in companies, in entrepreneurship. We're 20% of the population, but only 2% of venture capital or only 2% of philanthropy donations. So we have to use artificial intelligence to bridge that gap from the 2 to the 20 as fast as possible. It is also super important for someone like me to make sure that we're utilizing AI properly to help us bridge the gap of the perception, the dramatic perception crisis that we're facing. I mean, like all the data that I talked to you about just talks about growth, prosperity, power, and progress. However, the perception of Latinos is of negativity, of criminality, of stereotypes. And so AI has a dramatic power to help us get there and narrow the gaps and not allow for the widening of stereotypes. However, it is super important to understand that we need to get more Latinos into tech, that we need to get into the space of um, providing Latinos with the opportunity to frame the models that we are using, to be able to have, like if I ask ChatGPT today to draw 5 doctors in the US or 5 entrepreneurs, they're not going to put a Latino, let alone a Latina. So we need to have by far more injection in the areas where we're lacking data collection, data dissemination, so that artificial intelligence has the knowledge of the Latino community that we needed to have. And I think that that's where that leapfrogging is at crossroad. It can become an incredible source of progress, or it can actually push us back even further if we're not jumping into it.
Yeah, that is so true. It's going to be important for people to understand more of what's available out there and for folks like you and I to continue to talk so someone will listen. So, based on that, what's some actionable advice you're giving to your clients, to those senior executives, to HR professionals and managers out there to do? Because I know you travel the world talking about these issues. So, what are you suggesting to them?
I mean, like the first of all is the name of your podcast, dialogue. We are not part of the conversation. So the Latino community is not part of the narrative. There is a new sentiment. We measure very deeply the sentiment of Latinos through our Hispanic sentiment study, which is a primary research that we've been doing since 2018. And while the data of Latinos is growing hockey stick form, the attention given to Latinos is decreasing. So there's almost like a parallel curve that one is going up and the other one is going down. We're less in advertisement, we're less seen, we're less projected, we're getting less salary as opposed to making more salary. We're decreasing in the salary. So these incredible gap between who we are and how we are recognized is emerging, if you want, like as a tongue that is coming. The Latino community is more aware of their own contributions to the country. So this awareness is empowering Latinos, is providing them with a sense of self that didn't exist before. And that is going to be generating choice. And so if you start thinking of this, if I am a Latino, I'm going to start paying attention to what brands to buy, what companies to work for, who am I going to be voting for. And so this new Latino has to be top of mind to managers that so far have considered the Latino community a little bit more dormant and less active. So this is growing. Latinos are by far more self-aware, are by far more self-aware, but that means that they have higher expectations. And you start looking at that, then you start looking at a growth opportunity with a community that is waking up to their own power, and you can be right in the middle, saying like, I see you. I see that your pain point of invisibility is raw, that you feel that you're not part of the dialogue, that you're not part of the American narrative. I see that you don't see yourself seen. Let me make sure that I am not a company that is backtracking from the commitments that I had, whether you want to call them diversity, equity, and inclusion, you want to call them whatever it is, just commit to growth. And that includes Latinos. So I think that my message to managers, particularly in moving forward, is understanding that Latinos is the most important growth strategy that they can have in the next 4 decades, and they have to invest on it and do it right now.
Amen to that. And you know, it's interesting. One of the things as you were talking, I was thinking about, I've been involved in different, you know, we're in Hispanic Heritage Month and all these organizations that do these events. And it's always about music, food, and the culture. However, we don't add to, so what are we contributing? There's famous people out there that have contributed, not just the musicians, not just the artists. We have scientists and engineers and so forth that have been sort of making the path forward. And I think that's another piece that even our own Latino community is not aware of, and we need to do more of that. So, great information, Claudia. What are some key takeaways you'd like for the audience to hear as we begin to wrap this dialogue up? And I really enjoy, I know we could have spoken for a couple of hours, but thank you so much for your time.
100%. Look, I mean, like the time for Latinos is today. We've never been so strong. We've never been so ready. And I think that if you're a Latino listening to this podcast, I will have a couple of pieces for you. Number one is flip the script. Do not act the script of someone that like doesn't belong to you. So the script for Latinos is one of prosperity, power, and progress. Get the data, understand the data, and share the data. But first of all, flip the script with yourself from small to big, from weak to powerful. This is the time to flip the script and then make sure that you do it through data and through stories and through community. Number two is become a activist. I'm not asking you to be an activist like myself, but get the facts and share the facts. Flip the script, become a activist. And number three is take someone with you. This community is absolutely great when it comes to, like doing things for each other. So let's use that for progress. So God gave you two hands, one to go up, one to go down, like the one to take someone with you. So make sure that you're bringing the community forward. And if you're an ally and you're not Latino and you're listening to this podcast, my number two, one, two, and three advice is learn the data, be curious about the data, speak about the data, and make sure that you take someone with you. The Latino community is in desperate need for allyship, mentorship, and sponsorship. And in return, we will give you growth, loyalty, and a forever party. So here we go.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Gracias. Yeah, and to the audience, if you're listening out there, Claudia has a wealth of information on her website. Go check it out. You can see some of her books behind her. It's interesting. Bad Bunny's going to be at the Super Bowl this year, so we're going to continue to Latinize it one way or another. Look forward to that. And Sonia Sotomayor, one of my favorites too. So thank you for that. And so again, once you hear this podcast, you're hearing it during Hispanic Heritage Month. To Claudia's advice, get active, be proactive, learn, make sure you back up your own arguments and points. Go ahead,
And
Claudia.
join us at the Hispanic Leadership Summit, which is the gathering of the change makers, the who and who cares. At the Hispanic Leadership Summit takes place in New York on the 29th and 30th of October at the United Nations, culminated with our incredible gala at Cipriani Wall Street on the 30th of October. This is the place where it happens, the elevation of Latinos, the celebration of our community through stories, through role models, and through a community that wants to be celebrated.
Gracias, Claudia. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. You will have her contact info here. And so I hope you do follow up and listen into some of the information she has, look into some of the research that she's been collecting. I've been using some of that information to also be someone of putting the information out there and, to her point, paying it forward, bring some people behind me and make sure that they maximize, to your point, the main number one age today, 17 for Latinos, 63 for non-Latinos. That's a big gap. There's an opportunity there. Work for today's organizations are multi-generational, particularly aging society, but behind that we have a younger society, multicultural, in particular Latinos. Gracias, Claudia, again for your time. I appreciate it.
Edwin, thank you so very much.
Thank you. We're glad that you stopped by to visit. We're in the business of helping organizations in the growing era of AI become more HI, and that is become more of a human intelligent workplace. And we do that in a variety of ways. We can do speaking engagements. I can come in and speak to you either at executive retreats, at offsites, keynotes, things of that nature, to kind of share with you some of the trends that are taking place and what the implications may be for your organization. Sort of in a way, put a mirror up to your organization and say, these are the things that are happening. Are you ready for them? Are you doing something about it? So that's just one way. Another way we do some work with organizations is through executive coaching, helping from VPs to frontline supervisors, those to soon to be in supervisory, high potential individuals, help them in their development. Also do leadership and team development work. And along with that, we use instruments to help organizations from a consulting perspective help themselves, whether it's the Human Intelligent Workplace instrument or questionnaire to take a sense of, hey, how are we doing in this space? Also, organizational change readiness questionnaire. Are you ready for the changes? What are you missing based on some of this information? And lastly, we also look at leader behavior effectiveness questionnaires. How well are your leaders doing? How do they assess themselves? And how are the workforce assessing them too, whether it be 360 or others? So we're here to help, particularly in this ongoing changing era that organizations are facing, a time of uncertainty, a time where the workplace or the workforce is expecting different things. So hopefully you'll reach out to us and let us know how we can help you out. You can look at some of our information that we have on our website, some of the various podcasts, some of the articles and videos that I've put out there. And hopefully those will percolate and create some thoughts and reflective moments to think about maybe we need to have a discussion with the Human Intelligent Workplace. Thank you very much.